My wife always said she wanted a marriage built on trust. It was her favorite word. Trust, spoken like a vow long before we ever set foot in a chapel. So when she handed me a crisp folder only 2 weeks before our wedding, her hands trembling just slightly, I thought it was stress or nerves, or maybe even excitement. "It's just a prenup," she said breezily, as if she were asking me to sign a birthday card. "You know, to protect our futures. I mean, we're both starting out with nothing." Nothing. The word hit harder than I expected. I opened the folder and skimmed the neat, sharply worded paragraphs listing the division of assets. Hers protected, mine irrelevant, because she assumed I didn't have anything worth writing in. She went on about being practical, about her parents insisting, about loving me either way. I didn't argue. I didn't even flinch. I signed it right there at our tiny kitchen table. The ink barely dry before she threw her arms around me. "You're amazing," she whispered. What she didn't know, what I didn't say, was that 3 days earlier my uncle, the man who'd raised me after my father died, had left me his entire estate. Investments, land, accounts scattered across continents. More money than she or I had ever imagined touching. I hadn't told her, not because I wanted to hide it, but because the grief was still fresh, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with a future that had suddenly shifted beneath my feet. The wedding came. She looked beautiful, glowing, confident, triumphant in her white dress. I kept thinking how much I loved her, how maybe the prenup wasn't a sign of doubt, just fear, just practicality. But something in her kiss that day felt off, and I pushed the feeling down deep because it was our wedding day, and doubts didn't belong there. The truth waited for her on our wedding night. We were alone in the hotel suite, the city lights floating outside like distant fireflies. She curled beside me on the couch, champagne in hand, and laughed about how great our lives were going to be. "Actually," I said, heart pounding, "there's something you should know." Her smile brightened, expectant, eager, until I told her about the inheritance. Millions, houses, stocks, a future completely changed. Her glass slipped from her hand and shattered on the carpet. She didn't congratulate me. She didn't hug me. She didn't even blink. "You signed the prenup?" she whispered, staring through me, not at me. "You signed it knowing you had all of that." "I signed it because it didn't matter," I said softly. "I loved you." But her face twisted, shock, regret, panic, anger racing across her features so fast I couldn't catch a single one. She stood abruptly, pacing, breathing too hard. "That prenup," she said, voice cracking, "was supposed to protect me. My father, he wanted—" "Protect you from what?" "From me." She didn't answer, and silence filled the room like smoke. I watched her unravel. Then she grabbed her purse. Not for comfort, no. She pulled out the prenup I had signed so quickly and tossed it onto the vanity. Her hands shook as she dug frantically for a lighter. "What are you doing?" I asked, stunned. "I can't lose everything," she cried. "I didn't marry you to walk away with nothing." Those words, those exact, jagged words, they sliced something inside me clean in half. "You didn't marry me because you loved me?" My voice barely made it past my throat. She froze, lighter flickering between her fingers. Her eyes widened as if she'd heard herself for the first time. She reached for me, but the truth had already taken shape, even before the spark lit. I grabbed the prenup before the flame could reach it. "This is who you are?" I whispered. "This is what this was to you?" She broke then, fell apart on the edge of the bed, sobbing into her hands. "I thought you didn't have anything," she choked out. "I thought I was making sure I didn't get stuck with nothing if you failed. I didn't know. I never thought that I would ever succeed, that I would ever be worth anything." "No," she cried. "I mean that, I swear. But lies have a tone, and truth has a silence. And what I heard in that silence was betrayal long before she'd even said the words." The next days blurred. Her guilt turned syrup sweet, clinging, apologizing, promising. She cooked breakfast, left notes in my jacket, touched me constantly as if she could fill the growing space between us with her fingertips. But something else seeped in too, her behavior shifting. Her phone always face down late-night walks, Whispered calls she claimed were with her mother. One evening, her phone buzzed beside me. The screen lit up before it dimmed. A man's name, a message preview, a heart, my blood iced. When she returned, cheeks flushed and excuses ready, I didn't need her to confess. The way she froze told me everything. The prenup hadn't been her first betrayal, just the first one I'd seen. I was lonely, she whispered. You were distant. It didn't mean anything. You're overreacting. It just happened. I'm sorry. Every sentence drove another nail in the coffin of who I thought she was. I left the next morning, the prenup in my hand, the marriage still legally warm but emotionally cold as winter stone. She begged. She pleaded. She screamed. She promised. She said she'd burn her phone, never speak to him again, go to therapy, start over. But trust, once shattered, doesn't glue back together. It turns to dust. And all I could think was that she hadn't married me for love. She had married me for security. When she thought I had nothing, she tried to protect herself. When she found out I had everything, she tried to take it. When she realized she couldn't, she found comfort elsewhere. The inheritance didn't destroy us. The prenup didn't destroy us. Her fear didn't destroy us. Her choices did. Sometimes I still think about the night she tried to burn the document that protected me from the woman I never saw coming. And sometimes, quietly, I thank her for showing me before I gave her the rest of my life. Love built on conditions isn't love. It's a contract waiting to break.